Thanks, John. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I mean, surprised, I think, that this fentanyl story is not leading every newspaper in the country right now. It's talked about. I think it's one of those things where it's almost so, ubiquitous that it's there. And what do we do about it, Congressman? Because, you hear local law enforcement officials like Mark Lamb in Pinal County, they're trying to deal with it. I know local law enforcement officials on the border in Texas are trying to deal with this. But where is the urgency from the feds, the Biden administration?
Well, the mainstream media and the Biden administration has ignored the fentanyl crisis because it is a crisis, John. I mean, let's look at some numbers. We've seized 10,000 pounds of fentanyl in this fiscal year alone and 20,000 pounds since Joe Biden has been in office. We've lost just last year 107,000 Americans to opioid overdoses. That's a crisis. That's a catastrophe that Biden and Kamala Harris are ignoring. Furthermore, of those 107,000 deaths, 80,000 have been due to fentanyl alone. That's how dangerous this drug is.
And we're seeing the decrease in the life expectancy rate. Fentanyl is a big driver of that. These drug overdoses are a big driver of that. In fact, the leading cause of death for people ages 18 to 45 are fentanyl overdoses. And this didn't happen overnight. It took us a while to get here.
And we know China is supplying a lot of it to Mexico as well. And it's such a complicated issue, but it really does seem to be completely ignored by this administration, Congressman.
Now, Bianca, you're absolutely right. It's one way for China to make a profit and destabilize their greatest adversary, and we just let them get away with it. We don't address it. Mexico is increasingly producing it themselves as well because the drug cartels know one thing, and that's profits. And if they can cut out their supplier and become the supplier themselves, they'll do that. They like vertical integration. But we need to call them out. The Mexican drug cartels are indeed terrorists. They make about $25 to $30 billion a year with illegal drug trafficking, but also what, again, this administration is not talking about and doing really setting policies that help the cartels are the human smuggling. They charge about $4,000 a head for every person, man, woman, and child that crosses that southern border illegally. So when you do the math, when you're getting about 200,000 illegal border crossings plus about 60 or 70,000 known gotaways, and then we don't know, how many others, probably over 300,000. It's about $1 billion more a month in profit for the cartels.
Wow. Well, at least Texas, your governor signed an order to designate cartels as, terrorist groups here. But, here's something that, the Democrats do like to kind of poll when people say we shouldn't have open borders is that, well, you're racist, right? You don't want to have people from other countries, where it's really more about the health and safety of innocent Americans. I want to get your take on former President Barack Obama's comments. He was in San Diego Sunday speaking in front of a group of Hispanic realtors. Breitbart reporting via San Diego Tribune these comments, which were not caught on camera, not surprisingly. But he said right now the biggest fuel behind the Republican agenda is related to immigration and how the fear that somehow America's character is going to be changed if, he says, people of darker shades, there are too many of them here. So if you don't want an open border, you're a racist. I know there's a lot of people in your great state of Texas who are of different nationalities who they don't want an open border too. Are they racist?
You know what? I'm furious about that comment. I thank you for sharing it with me. What Barack Obama and the liberals have done is try to make everything about race. Securing our border and having a sane immigration policy has absolutely nothing to do with race. And Bianca, let me prove it. Of the 3.8 million people in the world that are waiting to come to this country illegally, that are respecting the laws and the rules of the country that they want to become a part of, and they're the exact kind of people that we're rooting for and want to come to this country, because they are waiting in line patiently. Most people wait about 9 years. Of those 3.8 million people, 95% of them are people of color. So for them to sit there and inject race into this equation is absurd. It's lazy, but it's what they do. It's divisive politics. They're trying to get currency out of being race hustlers, essentially. And by the way, Barack Obama, did you see who just got elected in South Texas in a district about 85% Hispanic, Myra Flores? And did you see that Ryan Guillen, an 18-year state rep that I served with in Austin, just switched to the Republican Party? Because those folks are on the tip of this spear, and they're tired of it, and they're Americans. They love their country, and they want the best for it.
The other thing that I think shows a lot of hubris in his comment from President Obama is that he thinks somehow America's character is going to be changed. If it's not changed already, you can't let a population in the size of the city of Los Angeles into this country and expect things not to change.
Well, John, we don't know who these people are either. So Barack Obama is perfectly fine with the following. letting Venezuela flush their prisons of rapists and murderers and kidnappers and drug dealers, and they come to this country without question. That's what he's for. He's for the drug cartels to run amok, because the drug cartels are treating those people, as your reporter just said, like a commodity. They're getting wildly rich. These are exactly the kind of policies that the cartels want. This is what Obama did. This is what Biden did. What President Trump did is said, you know what, we're going to wait. We're going to make you wait in Mexico when your case of asylum is adjudicated, because we also know that about 99% of the folks that are crossing the border illegally are economic migrants. They're not political asylum seekers.
Let's also talk about someone who's in office right now, not a former office holder, and that's the border czar, Vice President Kamala Harris. She's visiting the border finally, but it's the wrong one. Congressman, she's going to the DMZ between North and South Korea this week. Why hasn't she visited the southern border yet as the border czar, but she's got time to go to the DMZ?
Wow. Yeah, the border czar has done such a great job. She came down once and she went to El Paso, which is not even the sector with the issues. And then she goes to the border literally a half world away. And I don't think North Korea has a lot of immigration issues. I don't think anybody's trying to sneak into North Korea, trying to get the hell out. But that's what happens when you have these kind of socialist policies. She's tone deaf. She's proven it. Or her unfavorable. She's way underwater because she's just completely inept and incompetent.
Yeah, I mean, she's the representative the United States sent to mark the passing of Shinzo Abe. She's there in Asia. That's the reason for her trip. But stopping by the DMZ, not the border that she was tapped to secure.
Yeah.
It's actually a secure border, as you mentioned.
Very secure there.
Nobody's crossing illegally that way.
Very secure.
Under fear. Great to see you, Congressman Fallon. We'll have to wrap it up there. Always a pleasure. We appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Bye, Bianca.
Thanks, Congressman. All right, stay with us. Much more ahead for you on John Bachman Now today. There are some serious questions being raised